Welcome, listeners, and thanks for joining us. Today's Elko Live is our regular update in Elko County school news, featuring our Superintendent, C.J. Anderson, and we also have today our special guest, the Career and Technical Education Facilitator for the Elko County School District, Heather Steele. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Lori. It's good to be here again.
It's great to get caught up. And CJ, we're going to hit the ground running with you for just some brief updates on some things because Heather has a lot of exciting news to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thanks, Heather, for joining me. I used to bring guests on a lot, and I just haven't recently, so I'm really glad we could bring Heather, and I'm sure she'll go into a lot, but wanted to make sure to bring her along today because we just recently concluded CTE month or recognition, and so we always have so much going on. It's one of our kind of our proud points of Elko County School District is how robust and how excellent our CTE programs are and our CTE student organizations are, or the CTSOs. And so I'm happy to have her here to help report on that. And so, yeah, I'll turn
Awesome.
that time over to her whenever you're ready to do that.
Oh, good. Yes, we definitely are excited to catch up with Heather. First of all, though, a little bit of business with you. We know the school district's mulling some, bigger issues right now. I think the school calendar, that's been put to bed for now.
Yep, our school calendar has been officially decided for next year. And for those who maybe didn't catch the most recent update, our school year will begin a week earlier than kind of we're all used to, but it will also end a week earlier than we're all used to. So there's kind of some give and take there with that calendar. We really appreciate all the feedback that community members gave at our first board meeting, because it was a multi-board meeting kind of process, and really also appreciate the input that all of our staff gave through their union leadership. And yeah, it's great when people can come together, and it's always impossible to find a solution that's going to make everyone happy, but I think we have something that's a happy medium between things that we're lacking on either end of the calendar, and we hope this goes well for this year, and it's something we can continue in the future.
You can find it at ecsdnv.net, the school district website. Something else the board is currently working on, and it's taking a lot of massaging. That is our local school cell phone policy, right, CJ?
Yes, yeah. So quick update on that. I know I don't want to say I've been dragging my feet. It's just other things have taken priority in the last couple of months, but we are still in process of forming the committee to review and to create that policy, and to make sure that that's ready to go going into next school year. So that will happen throughout this spring and before the end of the school year. And so, if you indicated interest as a parent or a student or a staff member in participating in that committee, stay tuned for an email letting you know whether or not you were chosen for that, and thanks in advance to everyone who was willing, demonstrated their willingness. Even if you don't get chosen, really appreciate your willingness to engage in the process regardless.
All right, CJ, we'll switch over, but first, just to make sure listeners know, we're not glossing anything over, but there are no local impacts, at least as of today, on or of any consequences of national decisions that are being made right now, whether it's Department of Education or any of those initiatives, CJ?
Yeah, at this point, nothing concrete that we can definitively say that this is going to impact Elko County School District in the following way. There's a lot of talk about decisions that could be made at the national level with the Department of Education. There was talk previously about the possible disbanding of that department. It doesn't seem like that's as likely anymore, or potentially, reductions in positions or finding efficiencies. I know that's kind of a big deal. What's going on there at our national level right now is trying to make sure all of the departments are running efficiently and we're not being wasteful, and I can appreciate that effort. But we're really hoping that those things don't trickle down to something that negatively impacts kids, because in the end that's what we don't want to happen, right? And efficiency is great, but not efficiency in the name of kids not getting the services that they need and the funding we require in order to appropriately provide our children with FAPE, and so, which is a free and appropriate public education. So nothing concrete. We're always just kind of ears to the ground, whether it's through our state organization or our national superintendent's organization. They do a great job of keeping us posted and updated. And as I find those things out, I make sure to share with leadership of the district, with our school board, and at our school board trustee meetings when, like I said, when it's relevant, and very importantly, when I know for sure. A lot of people oftentimes want to know kind of in the process, and it's like, it's not really a great time to share stuff when you don't know for sure like the whole story and what's going to happen, because that can turn into rumors or it can turn into speculation, and I don't really like to engage in speculation too much. I like to make sure to give information when we know what the story is, and here's how we're going to proceed. And until those decisions are finalized, it's really hard to know how we as a district will proceed, how the state will proceed, etc. So we'll make sure to keep everyone updated as we find things out.
Thank you, CJ. And that's why we have you on the radio for regular updates, because we can count on that information. So appreciate it.
No problem.
So with that, if you have any nice things to say about Heather Steele, because I know she's your guest today, and I just want to make sure that you do get a chance to introduce Heather. She's long known in our community for her advocacy for students. She's pretty fierce about these issues, and I know that she's a real advocate with the Elko County School District too. So.
Yeah, Heather's great. Really appreciate her passion and her advocacy for our career and technical education programs. One of our board members is often quoted as saying CTE is the future, and it's also the present for a lot of our students. We, in our rural context and especially in a community of where mining is the predominant industry, there's a lot of relevant applications of CTE in so many different contexts for our kids. And maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, there was this really strong push all the time for going to college. And I'm obviously a big fan of post-secondary education. I think college is important. I'm on my third go around of it right now, and I think it's great. But I also think that somewhere in that mix, when that narrative started to be pushed, that it kind of devalued other opportunities that for post-secondary or after you graduate high school that weren't the college route. And I think we're seeing a swing of the pendulum back a little bit towards the other direction of, there's one of the main purposes of school, right, is to prepare our students to be contributors to their communities. And that can be done in so many different ways. And so it's exciting to be able to put back the focus on the value of contributing to your community, however you're able to do that and however you're excited to do that. And so for our students who are definitely more CTE pathway oriented, we want to make sure those opportunities exist. And so what I really appreciate about Heather, and I'll let her go here in a second, is she's a staunch advocate for as many CTE programs as we have currently. She's always forward thinking with what sort of programs we maybe want to bring in and get implemented at other schools. And then she's also very good about thinking about how all of this can translate to our outlying communities, because sometimes I think people worry or maybe are even just under the impression that these things only exist at Elko High School or Spring Creek High School, proximity to Elko. And the reality is, in as much as is possible and where staffing allows for it, or creative solutions allow for it, we try to make sure that every opportunity that we offer at one school is available somewhere else. Again, however we can possibly make that happen. And so Heather's not one to say no to ideas. She's a thinker. Sometimes I might think she's a little bit of a schemer, but I mean that positively. She's always trying to come up with great ideas, but with the focus on how do we help our students have access to opportunities that they're interested in. And so, with that, thank you for joining me, Heather, and I'll let her take it away with all the wonderful things that are happening in the world of CTE in the Elko County School District.
Thanks, CJ. CJ Anderson is our school superintendent. Again, welcome Heather Steele, career and technical education facilitator for the entire school district. Heather, that means from Jackpot to Carlin, West Wendover, Wells, Spring Creek, Elko. Hope I didn't miss anyone.
Yep, seven high schools, 2 middle schools, and then I also help out with Battleborn as I can. Their students aren't there for an extended period of time, so they don't technically fall into the CTE realm, but we're actually working with them and our friends at Elko County Fire Protection District. They're actually doing a fire science academy out there for the cadets.
That's wonderful. And
currently,
it is all about inspiring students and, helping them envision their own futures. And as I think CJ explained, academia is certainly important, a chance to advance in any number of ways. But for some high school students, graduation's approaching, and there are still several that don't know what they want to do or can do.
Yeah, and registration's approaching right now too for them to be able to use our programs to kind of tease out the skills that, or the things for them to find their passion, or also decide what's not their passion. Me, for example, health sciences was never a pathway I was headed into. I knew that. Vet science, fine, and the ag realm, fine. But once it became with human owies, I was out.
So, but here today, it has brought you to this wonderful opportunity again to help hundreds, if not thousands, of students throughout the school district, certainly. And there are so many highlights to go over. I wondered if you wanted to start with maybe some of the successful competition or some of the highlights for CT programs.
Sure. Right now, our CTSO, Career and Technical Student Organizations, are right now in competition season. So HOSA, which is our health science student organization, was there last week. FBLA was there this week. FBLA is our business organization. Our FCCLA students, family consumer science students, are patiently sitting in Reno right now, chewing on their fingernails. Their results will be released this evening. FFA will go to state next week, and then our Skills USA chapters will go in April. So
Wow.
They are busy preparing for, and now some of them are preparing to go to nationals, and we're excited about that.
Well, and our STEM awards go out tonight, too, at the Elko Convention Center, and that's big news for our future of scientists or range managers, doctors, any number of students who participate in STEM that might likely go on to, these career goals. So really exciting and cool. And obviously, you must rely on a lot of staff and maybe volunteers and parents to help these projects, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't for our teachers and our advisors and our competition coaches and parents supporting students going, and students doing all the work, these trips to Reno and then off into the national competitions definitely wouldn't be able to. And we've got a lot of business partners throughout all the organizations that support our students, prepare them. We had regional contests a few weeks ago. Lots of our local business partners, our board members, CJ was part of that as well, all utilized as judges to help those students prepare for what they would see at state, and that really helps them be successful when they get there.
Well, the last time we met too, Heather, I think we were still talking about a building, right?
We were.
Yes.
We were.
And now there's a building in Spring Creek.
There is a building, and I had to step into it a couple of days ago, was looking to make sure that we had the right electrical in the right location so that we could make sure we had the right equipment. And it has walls on the inside, and that's just, that's exciting stuff.
So tell us about this. This was a big grant that led to this, a lot of school board meetings. There were a few things that happened in between, but again, advocacy and leadership led to the reality of this new food science lab on the Spring Creek High School campus.
Yeah, and we're super excited about, it'll be part food science, part plant science. In the last week, I've been busy ordering the furniture and the technology and the supplies and the cabinets and all of the things that will go inside the building. So it was about a $650.02. Not that I know that number, but about $720,000 we received a CTE grant for. The majority of that, of course, is contributing towards the construction. The rest of it is for supplies. About $75,000 of that is to put furniture in the building and buy supplies so that the students can learn.
I was going to say, what are they going to learn out there, Heather?
So we have two different specific ag pathways right now. One's towards the plant side and one's towards the animal side. So on the animal side, students will learn all about animal management, livestock management, animal health, those types of things. But then it also goes into properly handling, storing food products as well. That includes meat, but it also includes vegetables and all the other things that we eat of the non-processed manner.
Well, and that's important. Natural, healthy, consistent food supplies. If you haven't noticed lately, we're at a bit of a disruption nationwide, and I'm not sure how much people understand unless food supplies are disrupted, which could happen fairly easily. In northeastern Nevada, everything that's not grown here is trucked in. And wouldn't it be nice to be more reliant on ourselves?
For sure. All you have to do is look at the price of a dozen eggs, and you understand that there are some issues in our food supply for sure.
So this is all toward helping improve that, the food supply, the safety, the security of what we can obtain or source for ourselves locally, and encouraging students, obviously, in this.
For sure. We've had several businesses now reach out knowing that we're going to have students prepared to be able to properly handle food products and prepare them for local consumers. We won't be selling anything at retail value. We will be taking in the products from the growers or the producer and then repackaging it for them. So it's not a retail operation by any means, but
It's not like Wolfpack meats.
definitely not. No.
Yeah.
A little different realm there because we are an educational facility. They are too, but
That's a pretty grand scale.
that's a grand scale compared to
definitely.
what we're doing. But we're we've seen success through the Wells program. The Wells has had a food science program there for several years, and those students are not only learning a trade and a skill that they can use just in their own home kitchens. Understanding how to properly handle food applies to every consumer.
How to cut up cauliflower.
Exactly.
That would be handy.
And not lose a finger while you're doing it. Like that's
Exact-
all important skills for students to have. Plus the students who find a love for that type of skill then can develop their skills further and make pretty good money doing it. But we're providing them with the breadth of options as well. But then that program is using their services that they're providing to their local producers as a way to continue to sustain that program. So they are not relying on anybody else to put money towards the program to buy more supplies to continue to process food products.
And we're going to obviously be following that closely and find out more. It's still a work in progress. Classes should begin in the fall.
We're hoping, fingers crossed.
All right. Just got to finish up that interior, get all the furnishings in, as you mentioned, and not one to rest on the laurels of the Career and Technical Education Program. Moving on to an expansion. You said something about welding in West Wendover?
Yeah, so we got a new teacher in West Wendover. His dad was actually the welding teacher in West Wendover a generation prior. So the community of West Wendover has rallied around him because the community that's in West Wendover now knows that they want their kids to learn from the son of the instructor previous, which has been really cool. So we've gone from 6 welding students in West Wendover to about 60 in a short period of time. So we put in for another competitive grant this year to help do some renovations, remodels to his shop because we need more booths, we need more equipment because we have a ton more kids. We were awarded that grant. It's just shy of $200,000 for us to be able to build that program up and get it so that it can continue to grow.
And welding's important in a lot of applications. Is that right, Heather? Okay.
Yeah. So the last industry partner I talked to, I think they said 70,000 welders are needed in the next couple of years because everything is made out of a metal process somewhere along the way. If you think about food processing plants or you think about our mining industry and maintaining equipment, but also building infrastructure, welders are a necessary career path for sure in the United States.
You could think about just close to home, the 12th Street Bridge maintenance project set for this summer. They just awarded about $1 million contract to Q&D Construction, Heather, and hopefully they've got all the folks they need.
I bet Q&D Construction probably has a need for employees, for sure.
Yep. So there you go. Another reason to get into skilled trades, needing craftspeople. You know, even homeowners who have older homes, it can be a little scary to have a property that you have a lot of pride in, but if you can't find someone that can, I think it's called pointing bricks, you know, like a person who has some of these skills, plumbers, just that do small jobs, electricians, you know, there are so many needs just within the city, the community, in the small business world.
Yeah, and we're doing everything that we can at Elko County School District to try to fill that gap. We have a lot of industry partners that come to us that want to get involved in our programs so they can partner with us so that they can start providing us with opportunities for what they want in an employee coming out. They're taking on students in work-based learning opportunities like job shadowing and internships and CTE work experience, so that while students are in the classroom and on our campuses, they're learning the skills that are easily taught in the classroom, but then they're also working side by side with those industry partners to gain the skills that they need in the workforce too. And then they get to invest in an employee prior to and have a good understanding of that employee before they just randomly hire somebody off the street. It's a different dynamic for everybody, for sure.
Because we understand that work ethic, that's a huge part of what employers are experiencing right now. They want someone that when you're trained, you're going to stick with it too. When you buy tools, when you come to work, they're all the things, right, that adulting requires us to do.
For sure. And I think employers see it as being able to be involved with these students at a younger age, maybe prior to when they can actually hire them, gives them an opportunity, the kids an opportunity, and the employer both, to kind of do a working interview. They get to understand the expectations of both, and there's some things that need to happen on the employer side that we can't necessarily teach in a classroom. Putting their phones down is a number one skill that that employers really, really want from people entering the workforce, not just our kids, like just the population in general. So as we kind of talk about that cell phone policy and developing that, it's also something that our employers are asking us to help train our workforce, a skill in them being able to put it away.
Right. Be a good social citizen, for sure. Heather Steele is our guest alongside our school superintendent, C.J. Anderson. Heather heads up the career and technical education programs throughout the Elko County School District. I want to make sure that we're getting to all of the topics that you wanted to today, Heather. I mean, there's so much to catch up on, and it's really exciting for students.
There is, and I'd really like to make sure I take some time today to brag on the students, right? CTE in Elko County we got about 3,000 CTE students in the district, so that's about 1/3 of our student population. So when we're talking about CTE kids, we're talking about all of our kids, essentially. CTE touches the majority of them in one way or another in their career, but these kids are doing some really amazing things. So I want to brag on them for a second. I'm going to go back to some of the results from the Career and Technical Student Organization state contests, because we've brought home some state champions and had a lot of kids qualify for nationals, and these kids are going to be out beating the streets looking for funding to help support them to go to Anaheim, California, Atlanta, Georgia, and the places where they're going to be handing those things. So for our HOSA, which is our Health Occupation Student Organization, we had middle school students for the first time ever qualify for nationals. That's exciting. CTE is moving back now, finally, towards it's not just a high school experience. We should be doing career and college exploration K-12. So we've had middle school students now travel and compete in state and qualify for nationals. 12 of our Spring Creek High School students, including an EMT team that was supported very much by Elko County Ambulance, have qualified for nationals.
Wow.
Yeah, we had one student from Elko High qualify for nationals in vet science, which just makes my heart happy. For our future business leaders, 20 students from Wells, including middle school kids, qualified to go to nationals, and they did bring home a state champion. We had 5 students from Jackpot who have qualified for nationals, 8 from West Wendover, and 2 of those students qualified for nationals in multiple contests. And West Wendover also brought home a state champion. Theater Technology, they are part of an organization called the International Thespian Society. It's not recognized as a career and technical student organization. However, they qualified 9 students to go to nationals. And like I said, our FCCLA kids are anxiously waiting on results tonight. So we've had a project going with the Governor's Office of Economic Development in Jackpot for this is year 2 of that project, where the students are testing out virtual reality headsets in an individual career mapping process. And they've also trained and received their ACT Work Keys National Career Readiness Credential. They will actually this spring be on the floor of the legislature talking about that project and how we have implemented that in a small rural community where career awareness isn't really big, because those kids have one industry that really drives their community. In addition, we've partnered with Green Our Planet, and we have hydroponics units in many of our schools actually now because of Green Our Planet. Our Jackpot middle school kids will also be on the floor of the legislature presenting their projects in hydroponics. That hydroponics project has grown into a huge STEM opportunity with our Jackpot community, and we received dollars, and now we're going to be building greenhouses in Jackpot. So we're excited to see all of the ways that we're developing these opportunities for kids across the district.
And we have geothermal here, too.
We do.
I mean, that's why this makes sense, right? Making these connections, too.
Yes, for
Because
sure.
we don't have enough people that understand geothermal, the value, the benefits. We let something deteriorate that could be really useful right now. Huge savings in actual money. So
For sure.
if we had those scientists. We'll keep going. I'm sure you
Yeah.
haven't finished.
So I talked a little bit about our competitive grants. Last year, in addition to the food science building, we also received a competitive grant for about $100,000 to develop an advanced manufacturing pathway at Elko High. Brandon Stone, the instructor there, is also very much involved in the Nevada First Robotics competition. And through all of that, those kids are also competing in robotics competitions, also not a recognized CTSO, but those kids are out there and should be recognized for their work as well.
And I'm glad you mentioned manufacturing, because people often ask economic development folks, why don't we have manufacturing? Well, it's because we don't have skilled workforce. You can ask Komatsu about that, right? I mean, when you have to bring in and train your own. So this is what you're growing for us, Heather.
Yeah, and those kids are learning how to manipulate materials into other things. And it's wood, it's metal, it's plastic, it's paper in some cases.
Sometimes it's computer generated.
It's computer generated, it's hand drawn, it's all of these basic skills that even like manufacturing is a huge umbrella. And we call it manufacturing, but these kids could apply those skills that they're learning in so many different industries that we have just in Elko alone. So we're excited to bring manufacturing to Northeastern Nevada because we haven't had one of those pathways here before.
It's so nice to hear that we are not ignoring our most valuable resource, which is our students.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
that's CTE has always been and will always remain being student-centered and industry-centered, and the skills that we need to provide them for them to be successful.
Is your list wrapped up? Because I didn't want to leave anyone out.
Just a couple more.
Okay,
if that's all
please.
right.
No, keep going.
So this year, we received, in addition with the West Wendover Welding Project, we also received $100,000 to continue building our fire science program. Our partners at Elko County Fire Protection District, I can't say enough about the resources and the opportunities they have provided our students, and we're continuing to hopefully with this grant be able to continue to build those programs. We're seeing students earn their credentials in wildland firefighting and be prepared to leave us ready to go make some pretty good money in the fire science field. The program actually includes both wildland and structure, but they're also adding EMR and EMT, and we're continuing to build this, and we wouldn't be able to do it without our industry partners, we wouldn't be able, as a school district, we would not be able to manifest the greatness that's going to come from this program. And then I'll just brag on some industry partners. I just met with Casey Mitchell from Gallagher Ford with our auto program at Elko High, trying to get that partnership built back up where it needs to be. Our students will begin utilizing Ford's curriculum for training their employees as far as technicians. Yep.
Yeah.
The intention being that they'll have the curriculum. Gallagher's supporting us in a lot of different ways with that, so that students again have those skills that Ford needs by the time that they graduate, with work-based learning opportunities and great things. That's exciting. I've been back and forth with Ignite Chiropractic the last couple of days. They're looking on taking a student intern. Work-based learning is this huge umbrella, but it fills a gap that we can't do in the classroom, and the employers don't necessarily have time and resource they want to dedicate to. We have to rely mostly on our small business owners to be able to step up, and even if they're willing to take a student or even a student for 4 hours, we're here to try to help get kids to see what it looks like in the real world.
Heather, wow. And it sounds like we've just really touched the surface. I mean, I'm hoping you'll come back, and it won't be so long in between, but you're so busy doing the things. That's what people need to understand.
Making sure they're career and college ready.
Yes.
Both. Yep.
Thank you. Heather has amazing experience in worlds of both, higher education in CTE there. So some of these partners, the obvious ones would be Great Basin College or Nevada Gold Mines, but that you've rolled in these smaller partners who are just as significant, because
Absolutely.
they're bringing attention to the needs.
Yep, absolutely. And Like one of the big things that we're working on right now as a state is finally the CTE world has recognized mining, resource extraction as a necessary pathway for CTE. So we are working with Kinross and Nevada Gold Mines, and of course the Nevada Department of Education and the Nevada Mining Association. Hopefully next year we will be rolling out a CTE pathway in resource extraction, which has always been very important to Elko and the surrounding counties. But now with the governor's plan and Lithium America and the lithium loop and all of those things, mining resource extraction is becoming a much bigger necessary workforce development in Nevada. So we're super excited to be able to bring that on board.
Heather, thank you. Really. And
thank you.
Yeah, CJ, wow. A lot of stuff going. She has her own school district thing going on over there. It's like, It's almost like a separate academy, really.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's pretty great. And I love not only because it's not this silo that CTE is operating in, but rather it's connected to our district's strategic plan. From a district administrative level, we've also made investments in this. We didn't even get to talk about the Star Academy and what that does at Adobe Middle School to feed kids into to CTE career pathways to get them excited about that. Furthermore, I think I've talked before kind of here and there about our desire to formulate a district portrait of what our students should look like. And there's often too much of an emphasis, well, I shouldn't say too much, but there's often like a sole emphasis for people on what knowledge kids are gaining from school. But really what's important is that not only that they have the knowledge, but they also have the skills like Heather was talking about that employers want to see, and that they have the right dispositions as well. And so we're going to be engaging with community partners, business partners, stakeholders from all across our community in the development of this, because in the end, a local public education should meet the needs of the community that it exists in. And so we want to make sure that whether it's through our CTE pathways or through whatever else it is that our business partners and our stakeholders kind of recognize that this is what we're not seeing, and this is what we really need to see. Like, what is it that we want education to accomplish in Elko County for our students, and even more specifically, it can even get more specific to each of the individual communities where our students exist, because in the end, like that's how those communities will grow. Is if the students that are produced from those schools are able to contribute and help it grow. And so, it's definitely a district-wide effort. It's we're happy to support it how we can and where we can, and it's important that we have passionate teachers and a passionate facilitator to advocate for those programs and to help push them forward into the future. And it's necessarily an always evolving thing depending on what the industry and the market bears and needs and requires, and that we're adaptable to it. I think a lot of people like to romanticize and reminisce on the way things were when they were in school, and the fact of the matter is our society and our community and our economy, there's very little in common with when I graduated from high school, like whatever it was, 26 years ago or whatever that was. Like, things have changed so much, and so we have to be adaptable to that, and we need to make sure that the system of education that we deliver doesn't just get kids with high test scores, but it gets kids that are ready to contribute to their community. And so that's what we're trying to do.
CJ, thank you. And just the closing remark, we don't want to let our public information officer down. Registration is needed throughout the school district, right? That's something new.
Yeah, so we've always had to have people register their kids for school. That's important, but the process by which that is happening has changed. Sent out kind of a district-wide email recently, but April 14th is going to be when registration opens, and that's not just for kindergarten, but for all students. It's very important that a registration occurs every year. I think in the recent and distant past, kids just kind of rolled up, and we only had to enroll a student or register them when they're a brand new student to Elko County School District. But now, all students every year have to be registered, and an important part of that process is making sure all of their relevant information that happens during a registration is updated. And so starting April 14th, people will be able to do that. It's very important that any question, and that has to be done online. I think there will be some kind of sessions to help facilitate that for people in person if they're uncomfortable or unfamiliar with how to do that online on their own. But that can be done just within the comfort of your home or on your cell phone or laptop or whatever. So the 14th, it's important to know that. And then because this is done through Infinite Campus, it's very important that every person that tries to do that online, every parent has their Infinite Campus login information. And the way to get that, if you don't have it already, is by contacting the site administrator of the school that your child goes to, and they can help make sure you have that information. The process itself is relatively straightforward and simple. For a lot of people, the hardest part is just getting that login information figured out. But that's auto-generated from each school, and so you need to contact your school to make sure you have your correct information, so you can do that and make sure all of your information is current and accurate, both from a communication standpoint and just from your ability to be active in your students' education, to check their grades, check their attendance, receive communication from the school about what's going on in the schools every day. And make sure as we get into April that you don't delay. And just one point of clarification, when I talk about registration, that means simply registering your student. It's not for our high schools, it's not registering kids for their specific courses. That's a different process that takes place at the high school, and the counselors will help work people through that. This is very specifically about making sure that every year your child is registered as a student in Elko County. The actual course registration is a separate process that the schools take care of.
All right. So in order of, take care of your taxes and also make sure your students are registered throughout the Elko County School District. CJ, sounds like a topic we can revisit another time as well.
Certainly.
So we'll need to get more updates on that.
You got it.
Thank you so much. Break a leg. Because
thank
Chicago opens. Billy Flynn is sitting here in the studio with us, so thank you.
Yep, it should be fun. Come out and see the show. It's great. A lot of hard work's been put into it, and it's guaranteed to be fun.
It's going to be a great time. Great Basin College Theater through March 22nd. Heather, thank you for being on the program. Again, we'll visit again because there's so much more to catch up on.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today here on KELK.